Hello and welcome to Morocco for day 4 of the Estoril Portimão Marraquexe Rally. Round 3 of the 2010 FIA Rally Raid World Tour has swapped continents overnight with a 10-hour ferry journey taking the crews out of Europe and into Africa. 5 incredibly tough legs await the competitors who survived the Portuguese stages, and they're going to be visiting some of the Dakar's classic bivouacs, El Rashida, Zagora and Marrakesh. So, summary from legs 1 and 2. Portuguese Filipe Campos in the BMW X3 had been having a bad time in the Portuguese National Championship with 2 retirements. But highest placed local driver on every stage so far, he's taken maximum points from the Portuguese legs. Helder Oliveira in the Nissan Pathfinder hasn't contested an event for 6 months and spent day 1 getting reacquainted with the car. On a limited budget, he lost time running old tyres on day 2, but he's second overall going into Africa. Current championship leader, FIA championship, that is Russian Leonid Novitsky in his Dakar spec BMW X3, had problems in the sand on day 1 which gave him a bad start position for day 2, and he lost time in other competitors' dust. Erik van Loon from the Netherlands put in a fantastic performance on his first time driving the Mitsubishi Lancer. Very fast, but unfortunately picked up penalties for missing a checkpoint on day 2. Ricardo Leon dos Santos has had big problems with the brakes on the rear right of his X5 on both day 1 and day 2. Not a great start. Helder Rodriguez on the Yamaha 450 used his home knowledge to lead on home soil. Ruben Farrier on the Solworks KTM struggled with a heavy 690 bike on twisty stages. David Casto on the Sherco had no such problems, rode at a comfortable pace, put in some great stage times, and the road reminded him of home. Local rider Luis Correa, motocross expert, big surprise for everyone how quick he was, but struggled with the navigation, has had a penalty for missing some checkpoints. Highlights from day 3 yesterday, the last leg in Portugal. Filipe Campos continued his run, made it 5 wins out of 5 on the National Championship. With only the Portuguese drivers and stages counting for that championship, the hard work starts for him now in Africa. Leonid Novitsky, his first day without problems, might have been even closer if he hadn't stopped to help Helder Oliveira out of the ditch. What a nice chap. Rui Souza missed leg 2 to change his engine, took big penalties for that and won't win overall, but enjoyed coming 3rd on the stage yesterday. Oliveira, we've already mentioned, owed a big debt to Novitsky for stopping to pull him out of a ditch. And Van Loon was noticeably downbeat yesterday after a double blow. Penalty for missing the checkpoint on day 2, compounded by a puncture on day 3, struggling with the big Lancer on tight stages. Eric Vigoro in the Chevrolet Silverado pickup hadn't changed anything on the car at all since winning the 24 Hours in Marrakesh last week. Unfortunately, it turns out he should have changed the gearbox. It gave up the ghost yesterday, no gears at all. He had to jam it into 3rd to manage to finish the stage, and then they changed it on the road section to the ferry. The gearbox had done Tunisia as well as Morocco, and it was just a few miles too far. Mario Petreo on the Suzuki 450 lost time on day 1, chose yesterday to make it all up, rode flat out and won leg 3. Paulo Goncalves, broken oil pipe on day 1, pushed hard yesterday to make up time on the leaders who he knew would play tactics, moved up 2 places and looking forward to the desert. Helder Rodriguez, no problems on the stage but stopped 3 times. He didn't want to run first and open the road today. And Frans Verhoeven used the day to test new compound tyres, too soft and ripped apart. Ruben Farrier on the Solworks KTM 690, happy to see the back of his home country with the KTM difficult on the twisty stages, also slowed and didn't want to be first on the road. So today's 4th leg, featuring a famous stage from the Dakar's African history. The crews will leave the boat from the door after the 10-hour ferry crossing, and they will have a 272-kilometre liaison before reaching the stage start at Marija. It's then a 255-kilometre stage, very fast but with difficult navigation, and finally a further 200-kilometre liaison to the Air Rashida bivouac for some well-earned rest. But first, of course, the ferry journey across from Europe.
Magnifique. On a roulé sur des pistes.
We've run on some good tracks, so I leave Portugal with some great memories. The race was wonderful. The organisation was perfect, and that's really a good thing.
Une organisation superbe. Non, vraiment un super souvenir.
At the moment, we're waiting to board the boat. We'll be at sea all night.
On attend pour embarquer dans le bateau, passer une petite nuit à naviguer.
And so we'll need to be ready to start 300 kilometres of liaison and then 250 kilometres of race. It will be a hard day with 700 kilometres, but it will be a good day to ride.
Donc une belle journée de moto, je pense.
So while the boat isn't a new experience for the experienced Dakar competitors, for the national racers it's an opportunity to socialise with some of the other competitors, soak up the atmosphere.
This time is very nice because we have time for confraternization between everybody, because in the normal stage in Portuguese championship we don't have the dinner, everybody is doing the things by himself, and we finish the cars and we go to the hotels, each one by himself. And here in the boat we have time to talk with each other. We cannot touch the cars, so the co-drivers make the road book and the drivers speak about the situation, the expectations, what to change in the cars, and how it's going to be tomorrow, who will let pass, who will not let you pass, and it's a lot of fun.
So leaving Europe, the crossing allows the organisers to speak with the competitors and give them a good briefing about the challenge they're about to face. For many of the national competitors, it's going to be their first time in the desert, and that in itself is a very dangerous prospect. They all need to be told what to do in the event of a crash or a breakdown, or indeed just getting lost in the complicated road book. They're going to have to focus much more on navigation than in Portugal. Portugal made up mostly of tracks, quite difficult to get lost, and Africa just wide open expanses. If they can beat the nerves, it'll be a bit of sleep and then an early start ready for leg 4. So Leonid Davitsky in the BMW X3, the Russian driver, had been waiting for this moment for 3 days and showed why he's currently the class of the FIA Cross-Country Championship. This stage was more about the co-driver than the driver, with difficult navigation, and Davitsky had the benefit of Carlos Sainz's old Dakar co-driver, Andreas Scholz. Scholz knew the tracks and felt right at home.
Yes, this was for us today, but I have to say also I have much more experience for co-pilot, and this was really difficult. I know this place when I do this area 2006 with Sainz. It was also difficult, and for all co-pilots it will be from tomorrow on a little bit more easy. But this for sure was a difficult stage, and I'm happy I was today really good, and my driver was perfect, so we do a really good time, and we're happy to come back, and we are very near now to go back to the leading.
Eric Vigoureux, the Frenchman, finally got to make the most of his Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck. Very, very fast in the open stages. He had to start well down the order today after yesterday's gearbox change and had a lot of traffic, which inevitably held him up a little this morning, but his main problem was overheating. We passed car after car, BMW, Mitsubishi, but everything was perfect. Then the engine began cutting out more and more frequently, and we found we had a vapor lock problem. 10 kilometres from the finish, the car stopped completely, and we had to wait 7-8 minutes to let the temperature go down. When we got going, we finished carefully so not to overheat. Eric Van Loon, with his problems with the size of the Mitsubishi on the narrow European stages behind him, he was much happier today. Feels very much at home in the desert, but doesn't have the local knowledge of some of the Moroccan stages that the other crews do. And this was a new test for him on his first run in his new car. Felipe Campos on the flip side have been nervous about the desert all week. This event is a steep learning curve for him, and he was only doing the Moroccan stages for fun. He knew experience would count on a day like today with high speed and hard navigation, but was pleasantly surprised not to lose too much time. There's a lot of navigation, and it's difficult as I was the first car on the tracks with no experience. Very complicated. I thought I would wait for Nowitzki and follow him, but we made a mistake and we lost him. We made a lot of mistakes. But after 100 kilometers, everything went well, and it was very fast. Ricardo Leão dos Santos in the X5 put the problems of Portugal behind him. He blamed his broken wheels and broken brakes on hard terrain in Portugal and felt that the African terrain wasn't so difficult and that his car was more suited to it. The stable, fast X5 came home in 5th on the stage. Helder Oliveira in the older Nissan Pathfinder was struggling for top speed. When he was running flat out, he could see the other cars disappearing, the dust trails giving away the difference in speed, and he fears for his 3rd place overall if the other BMWs are as fast. Hoping to use his technique rather than outright speed to win, and that of course will help when we hit the sand dunes tomorrow. And Bernardo Moniz de Meyer climbed the standings to 6th overall, a rally specialist in Portugal, but got lost today in Morocco and lost an hour. So overall, Nowitzki fastest on this stage, Figaro in 2nd in the Chevrolet truck, Van Loon, Campos and Leão dos Santos. Overall, Campos maintains his lead, but Nowitzki really closing him down. So after the break, we are going to meet with David Casto and have a look at his carbon Sherco bike. So join us.